Hello again. In our last tutorial we talked about the color wheel and using some primary colors to create a color wheel that's based on red, yellow, and blue. And I really wanted to talk about that quite a bit. And we talked about color complements, and we did an assignment, hopefully, because it would be very beneficial to have done this, where we painted some ranges between the primaries and secondaries, and we found that the in-between colors always created a more neutral color, um, and that was something that's very important to learn and very necessary to have experience with before moving on to the subject that's very near and dear to us, which is the subject of glazing. Howler is really based and very good at glazing techniques. Um, we like this because paint is not opaque. Paint is, in almost all cases, paint is somewhat transparent or somewhat translucent. So Howler is really designed to be a natural media painter, and we like the fact that it works pretty much the way that paint works with transparent or translucent paint. So we're going to do a project today that is based on that idea, and we're going to use some layers. I'm going to use maybe 3 layers, but I'll start on the base layer. And we're going to do something with glazing today. And glazing is basically really simple, where you add a very thin translucent or transparent layer of paint to add a new color into a painting. In this case, in this little drawing we have here, we took a monotone, or just an image that can contain only value, and then we added some color into it with a glaze. In this case, we used some rose madder glaze on this particular piece of fruit, and some lemon yellow on this particular piece of fruit. Now, you don't have to use any particular colors. You can use whatever colors you want to do glazing, but it's very good to have that understanding of what we did in the last tutorial about mixing colors or creating these primary colors, because then we'll have a good understanding of how colors mix and work together. So let's just dive into a project. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to paint some pears today, but I'm not necessarily going to paint exactly these. I'm just going to paint one pear. I happened to find these fruits at a 99-cent store where they had these really incredibly long, crazy stems on them. So I want to paint something maybe similar to one of these today. And we're going to just use a simple palette. Let's use this as a palette, in fact. So we'll have these 6 colors here. In the last tutorial, we talked about mixing cyan, magenta, and yellow on layers, and then getting the entire color spectrum. Well, like I said, we don't have to use this specifically cyan, magenta, and yellow. You can use any colors, but once we understand how the colors mix, say you have a color that's blue, you know that has some cyan in it and has some red in it. So you'll know if you add yellow on top of that, you're going to get a specific color, etc., because it's become intuitive to you. So let's go ahead and just start sketching. I'm going to use this little box right here. That's a little color picker. It turns the stored image into a color picker or a color palette that we can pick colors from. So I now have that color. And let's go ahead and pick a media. In fact, I think I'll use bristle brushes today. That's under the Particles tab. And we'll use maybe this one. Now let's use a filbert. You can't go wrong with a filbert. Yeah, then maybe we'll go ahead and use this one. Alright, let's use that one today. We're going to use this color of yellow. We don't have to start with yellow, but I'm going to start with yellow, I think. And I'm going to start... I can tell on my light side I have a lot of yellow. And right in the middle we have quite a lot of yellow as well. But, whoops. Just going to start painting the yellow part of our image. And we'll go back and put some warmer tones in on this later. That's basically roughing out my pear right there. Excuse me. And let's go to another layer, and there's some deeper colors on here. I'm going to use some of this rose madder. I'm on my second layer. I want a lighter rose madder here. Let's see. I'm going to pick one of these lighter rose madders here. Let's see. I want to paint in here a little bit dark. I'm going to undo that. I don't have that much dark on the base. So this is more of a dull color down at the base. And dark right down through the middle there. Have a really crazy stem on here. And there's a little bruise on the piece of fruit right here. I'm going to go to my next layer and pick some of this this blue here and start. It's a little too blue. Might in fact open my color wheel at this point. I don't know. I think I can get by with this. I'm going to go ahead and use blue here because I can always come in and lighten this up again. In fact, I'll do that now. Let's pick some white and start blending this back out a little bit. Alright, so I basically created my pair. I might want to go ahead and add some background color to this as well. Let's see. So I'll go. Since I got this blue, I'll use this purple, this indigo we've got here, and start with that, and then we can add some more color on top of that. Just gonna block this in real quick. And this is basically one technique. This is not necessarily the only way you can glaze something, but this is one way we can create a painting directly using glazing. And one of the benefits of this is that we're building up all these layers of color that you wouldn't necessarily get if you'd painted this all on one layer and just manually gone through all the trouble of trying to pick all these crazy numbers of colors. We're kind of getting those for free instead. So that's one benefit of glazing. It creates more interest. It creates sort of a depth to your image. Instead of seeing everything on one level, you're kind of looking into your image like you're looking into something that has a third dimension to it almost in a sense. I'm going to go back and use some of this orange here and start putting that. It's a little too orange. It's going to turn black by the time I get where I'm going with it. So I might blend some of that back out. Let's see, with white, like so. I made a few mistakes there. I'll take that out like that. And might put a little more yellow on that to really get some deep, darker colors down there in the bottom. We might want a little greenish color up at the top, a little vintage color. And that's about it. At this point, we can flatten this if we want to. Kind of interesting to look at the layers, though. Let's go to jumbo thumbnails. You can see each individual layer. We could store each layer by itself if we wanted to. If we wanted to come back to them. But I'm going to go ahead. Kind of interesting to look at by themselves, come to think of it. I'm going to go ahead and flatten this so I can do some opaque stuff now. Say I wanted to add some highlights. Let's see, color. I just want to use some white. And say I just want a little opaque white paint right here. And a little highlight right here. And that's about it. I mean, that's our first painting using glazing techniques. Hope it's been interesting. Doing that project with working with real pigments, I hope has really helped gain some experience on how your understanding of how colors will mix on screen works. Now there's a lot more we could do to this. Of course, I really limited myself by only using these six tones here. Not only 6 hues, but 6 tones basically. We could have used the full color palette with all so many millions of colors if we wanted to. But it's really good to limit yourself sometimes because it gives you it kind of forces you to I don't want to get into too many details, but it forces you to be creative and really kind of stretch yourself and that sort of thing. So thanks for watching. We could go over this as much as we wanted to, but I think we've got to the point where we've covered what we need to cover. So maybe we'll do a couple more. I really want to talk about tone canvases as well in the next one. So let's do that next, and talk to you then. Thanks for watching, and TTFN.